Joining us now to talk about that is Bill Lapp, analyst at Advanced Economic Solutions, which provides analysis to restaurants and food manufacturers. Bill is joining us from Omaha, Nebraska. Bill, I was saying it's a serious problem. We tend to make light of it a little bit. I laugh a little bit because Scarlett is laughing next to me. But clearly, around the world, this is a staple food, and a lot of people who rely on it, a lot of poor people who rely on this are seeing prices go to levels that they can no longer afford. Isn't that the case?
Yes, overseas, in the major producing countries, they've had serious food inflation problems. And one of the responses they've had is to limit the exports of those things they typically would export. A country like Thailand is a major producer, I think the second largest producer in the world of rice, and about half of their crop would be exported typically. And one of the ways they are fighting food inflation in their country and the political unrest and upheaval that comes with it is to limit the exports. So it's part of the reason it's a global commodity in nature, and it's part of the reason globally rice prices have surged.
Now, does this mean that the Thais are holding stockpiles, or is the extra rice that they're holding back being consumed in that country?
Well, they probably are consuming more because other foodstuffs such as wheat and corn-based products and vegetable oil have gone up in value. So one of the cheapest and primary staples they might have would be rice. There may be some hoarding. I don't know. The government may be making sure they have stockpiles as well in an effort to limit the problems that might come about with a food shortage.
I wonder, we've seen prices for wheat more than triple, also soybean oil, I should say, and corn. Why don't we see the same kind of epidemics with these foodstuffs that we do see with rice?
Well, one of the major reasons is that it's very near and dear to the hearts and a primary staple in countries like Thailand and India, Indonesia and the Philippines, Vietnam, and those countries typically would be exporting large amounts of this product, and their way to protect themselves is to limit their exports. And in fact, China is the second largest, or in the past has been the second largest exporter of corn in the world, and they did take action to limit their corn exports. U.S. corn exports have gone up, and you can see what's happened to U.S. corn prices as we've increased our exports to take the place of China.
All right, Bill, let's bring it back home here and talk about how this is affecting us in the U.S. Clearly, the big story that everyone thinks about is that Walmart, Sam's Club, or also Costco are limiting the amount of rice that people can buy. But that's not really the only effect, is it? I mean, costs rising are hurting profits at businesses as well.
Right. To talk about the prices first, the producer price index for food rose about 7.5% during calendar 2007. Consumer prices were up about 5%. So since the costs are increasing more rapidly than the prices at the retail and the consumer level, you're seeing some level of compression in margins. And it's a big challenge. We've had literally no commodity inflation since 1982 and very benign food inflation, roughly 2.5% over the past 25 years. Only now are these companies being pushed in order to maintain margins to increase the price they're charging their consumers. So it is a big challenge for food manufacturers and the restaurant industry.
And this they're seeing across the board. I mean, we've been talking with Starbucks managers for a year now about higher milk prices. Obviously, corn has been a huge story, especially with the ethanol push. How do you expect us to see a shift in farm acreage? Because that's been really the talk when we talk about the price of corn and soy rising. What do you think is going to be devoted now to rice as we see these prices rise?
Well, rice is a fairly small crop in the U.S. The U.S. is in terms of the number of acres devoted, it's probably 20 times as much as used to produce corn. So, but with the high prices we have, there will be more rice acres here. The corn acreage in 2008, as per the USDA survey, is expected to decline. That reflects soybean acreage increasing, where there's a direct trade-off between those two crops. The farmers rotate those. Wheat acreage will be up a little bit. So there'll be some moderation, perhaps, in soybean oil prices and wheat prices from the extreme highs we saw in the past year. But there is a significant concern about availability of corn, and corn is important because it is the primary feed in the production of milk, eggs, beef, pork, chicken. So if corn prices go up, you're going to see a surge in those prices as well, and that's going to eventually happen, I believe.